And there we go. Welcome back to Ceox. You see that amazing change? I mean, like everything just changed. And it's sort of important for us that that happens. And ultimately, yeah, we're just playing with different scenes, different backgrounds. And if you're tuning in, you're starting to figure out that these guys really are doing nothing more than trying to build a blockchain platform that teaches a whole bunch of people or helps at least a whole bunch of people understand and maybe create something healthy together. Yeah, that's what we're kind of doing. And that's what we do is on Ceox. Ceox is really where we begin to focus on well-being in the marketplace and kind of being your best together. In this segment, we tend to focus more on the game theory side of things. We started this year following the Buffalo Bills as we are fans of the Buffalo Bills. My daughter, who we call the commissioner, I don't see her coming in tonight. She's not been feeling well, so I wouldn't expect her to join us. But she's been working on us, like putting together a game, some other fun stuff that we're going to kind of deploy out as a Bitcoin, or let's just call it a crypto game. And all of that's just been a process of learning together, right? Putting together some of the pieces that we've been talking about as a family, getting together, doing these live so people can hear them. And once we put it out, like, okay, our family will have an understanding, hopefully, of why it is you'd want to put some NFTs into your grandchildren's wallet, and maybe creating family wallets and all of that. And so, anyways, Ceox is all about the well-being. So I'm going to kind of start with my dialogue tonight and say that life has been rough lately. It really has been rough for our family. I know it's been rough for a lot of families, and I don't foresee it getting any easier. And sometimes that's hard, and sometimes that means it's like we have to take the time just to kind of breathe. And I had a good friend the other day make a comment something like "let our mind breathe," and I feel that that's exactly the kind of space that we want to create here on Ceox. We want something that's fun. We want something that's instructive and effective and helping us really continue on toward our greater purpose, because I do believe that each of us was put here for a purpose. I do believe that we have a purpose in this life. And when we act upon that, that we find our greater inner well-being when we're really finding that stride in life where we belong. And I think that where we belong is where we can begin to share value with one another, and whatever that value looks like. And for me, and I'm Ceox, by the way, that's the character I play on this thing called social media world or meta world or whatever this weird world is that we live in right now. I'm just developing the name Ceox and running with that for any number of reasons. But it's where we're at right now is this idea of having to really know your role in the marketplace. And that goes further than simply the marketplace, because the marketplace actually extends home. Marketplace is not just a place that we go to buy our groceries. It is the economy in which we live in, and those economics affect us in many, many ways, right? I mean, in divorce, half the marriages ending in divorce, and a good number of those are really driven by economic stress. And we know many people that literal diseases, depression, I mean, that are driven by poverty and economic distress. We know that we need to make a healthier environment for more people economically. And so when we talk about more well-being in the marketplace, it also is at home, because you've got to be able to be who you are, be most fully who you are, and express yourself in ways that that are truthful, that restore fullness within yourself, right? That are built on truth, that are not shifting sands, but pillars that strong, those strong foundations that help us grow. And that's really what we're here to do as a brand and Udicci, and as Tim and I as people, we're here to hopefully help the next generations have it hopefully a lot better than we have it now. And I got to tell you, what we have right now is not bad. I mean, realistically, when you look across history, mankind really doesn't have it that bad right now, but it could be a lot better. And I think that that vision of a lot better is something worth striving for. I think it's something worth working for together. I think if we can help more people have the daily bread on their table and maybe not worry about where tomorrow's daily bread is going to come from, well, that's good too. Um, there's all sorts of stresses in life. There's all sorts of things that can bring us down. But I think that together we can bring each other up. I think that, when we truly try to work together and focus not just on what my own wants are, but really figure out how we together can create that future that we see. That's what we need to work for. Tonight's episode I titled something. What was the name that I gave this one tonight? It was Trust and Hope, right? And for Tim and I, years ago, when we started Udicci, we started with a saying, it was Credito Spes, and that was my best attempt at translating a phrase that we said was committed to hope. I was trying to translate it into Latin. I'm not certain that I got it correct. But the important thing about it, and one of the reasons that we use SPES at the end for hope, is because it's a proper name. And for us, that proper name, when we say hope, we mean Jesus Christ. That's who we are. And I know that may turn some people off right now, but I think that Jesus needs to be given his due. There's a lot of people who don't see him as Lord and Savior, but certainly see him as one of the best teachers to ever walk this earth. And arguably, good luck finding a greater teacher. Good luck finding a greater human. Good luck finding, even if it's just a mythical character. The teachings of Christ bring healing. The teachings of Christ bring strength. Now, like anything, like any sort of knowledge, anything, it can be weaponized. It can be made into something it shouldn't be made into. So when it comes to finding out who Christ is, one of the things that we rely on is his name is one of his names is mediator. We find it our goal to really just help people. Look, you don't have to always agree, but when we're searching for truth and we're searching for hope and we're searching for serious, honest love, we don't have to have the exact words with one another. But if we listen with our heart, we'll hear one another. And when we can trust in that hope that there is something greater, that we're willing to say there is hope worth trusting, and that it's greater than myself, it's greater than this generation. It's hope that is worth being shared with future generations and shared in a manner that says we truly believed what we were taught and therefore we acted upon it. We tried to create a better future. We tried to do what we thought was best in preparing a new foundation for a greater humanity for more people. And that's what we do here on Ceox. This has been a rather long soliloquy of some sorts. I've been waiting for Tim to jump back in, and he normally comes in as Inspector.
The black background has me all discombobulated.
What's that?
So the black background has me all discombobulated. I can't get the lighting right.
Well, we're okay. I thought you were going to come in as Inspector Gadget, but you're right. You kind of have to come in as a guest tonight. So you're all discombobulated. I wonder if I can discombobulate myself. Hold on. Let's see if I can discombobulate myself. No, that didn't do much for me either. Ooh, I got that thing in the background though. Okay, there we've got Inspector Gadget. See this thing I have in the background? Like, I gotta fix that. I've got to fix that.
Yeah, we have a little bit of work to do.
So we have a little bit of time, And I just don't think we're going to get. Boy, I cannot. Okay, well, okay, that's good. We have a new follower on Twitter. That's good. I don't think my text messages are working. So anybody who may be trying to text message me right now, I apologize that I'm not able to. Not able to answer you. Not quite sure what's going on there. So let's talk, because Sierra's not here, but we've got to pick this up. We've got to continue this forward, and we're going to carry forward with the Buffalo Bills segment for just a moment. I don't know, if Brian is around, he probably could have carried us through this segment all the easier, all the better.
Yeah. I did. I did get a chance to watch the game, so.
You watch the game, right? And now, So third time playing the Patriots, and what looks to be a record cold day at Orchard Park. I don't think the Bills have been playing so well in bad weather lately. I think they play really well in nice climated domes. And sorry, that's probably never going to happen in Buffalo. Just like it will never happen.
So are they having problems with the weather, or are they having problems playing up to their ability when they're playing lower end opponents?
Well, we're all messed up now because you switched sides. So all right. So no, I mean, I think that the weather was a pretty big factor in the no, we'll make it work the other way.
I'll be back.
I think the weather was a pretty big factor in the first game against the Patriots. I think that the Patriots probably had a stronger running game. I think the Bills have been doing their best to establish a running game the past few weeks, and I think that that'll be able to continue on. And certainly in the playoffs, we're going to see Josh run it if Josh has to run it. But then we hear during the week that Josh also has problems with his feet in the cold, so that's kind of a thing, right? You're like, okay,
yeah.
So this kind of gets into, and we're going to kind of, what do you do in those situations? Like, what do you do in those times when it's win or go home, and your feet are cold?
Yeah, well, it's like when you're in the military and you're marching in line and you've got blisters on your feet and you kind of don't have a choice in that time.
Well, I think we always tell
do what's necessary.
Yeah, I think we all tell ourselves we have the choice to do whatever we want at any given time. And, Jake on the Pirates used to talk about that. It was like we have far too many options, and that's sort of one of the unhealthy natures of our current environment. We have far, 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 far too many choices, and we choose too many, and then we try to juggle all those choices and, maybe never really get that solid footing that you'd like to have, right? And so how do we do that? How do we actually make sure, look, we're a championship team, and so we'll talk accountability stuff at Maverick. So not that kind of thing, but what kind of mental attitude do you have to come in to, your best, it's time to step up? What are the important elements that you have to have in your mind going into this game and just this time in life, if you will?
Focus. You have to have focus. Outside of focus, I mean, you have to have a willingness to persevere, because there are probably going to be challenges that you're going to face throughout all that. So,
a willingness to persevere. That's not always an easy one, right? I mean, it's easy to sort of get down. It's easy to accept starting to be beat. I mean, we live in a world that is really beating up a whole bunch of people right now, right? We live.
Oh, yeah.
I would say the vast majority of humans right now probably feel beaten up, right? And when you feel beaten up, it's not always easy to even have the will to persevere. right? It's sometimes a little bit more like, well, whatever comes my way is what's next, right? Like
Right.
whatever punch I have to endure next, I'll endure. And, there may be that, there might be something to that, but it seems like we have to um, sort of go on the offensive a bit,
Oh, you
which
want
I
to?
hate saying,
Well,
but
yeah,
like, right?
strategically.
Like, exactly. Right. Like, I think you talked about it there at your 50th birthday party, because Tim is now 50. Um, you talked about it as, that like hitting your stride,
Yeah.
and I think that that's something we have to, I don't want to say celebrate per se, but like you were saying, when you go out with the military and you're keeping in marching, you've got your
Yeah.
in time, right? There's something about the stride and finding your stride, and particularly if you can do it with other people, it just becomes even more
Right.
something, right? So how would you suggest to people to really find that stride in life?
Oh man, persevere. It- you have to. You kind of have to persevere through the challenges and really look at what you're going through as a holistic thing instead of like each individual thing that you go through. Because, like you said, people feel beat down right now. The reason you feel beat down is because you're focused on the one thing that you're focused on in life. The whether it be the everything that we're facing right now, or if it's something going on in life with finances or lost job, or whatever the case may be. If you're looking at it just in that moment and not looking at it at the holistic, like, okay, I'm here for a reason. God hasn't taken me yet, so why am I still here? What can I do? And we have a choice. We can choose to curl up in a bed and in a corner and whine and cry like like we all want to, or we can get up and actually start making things happen. And that's all our choice. In the end, that's all on us, each individual.
I wonder to what degree. Uh, yeah, hold on a second. I got another. Definitely not working. Okay, so not gonna
What's
have
not
any.
working?
It's got to be just my messaging, because I just keep getting
Oh,
it. Nothing here. Just me trying
okay.
to coordinate with other people, and so
I'll
sorry,
be right back.
I
Yeah.
can't get you guys on the messaging. I'll look into that, and I think that one of the things that we need to really get focused on is where we're going to have our conversations. I think that sooner rather than later we need to get a probably chat thing on Udicci.TV so we can kind of manage it all there. And
Yeah, I
it
was gonna play around a little bit with it today, but um, I want to. That's one of the next ones I've got on my on my list of the fun ones to work on when I need to get away from all the challenging stuff.
yeah, we have to do a lot on Udicci.TV as a whole, on that side of things. Anyways, all right. So not to get too far distracted there. Anybody who is listening and trying to text, sorry. We'll continue to work on these kind of pieces. Like I say, you can try me through Ceox on Signal. You could also try me personally, or Udicci on Facebook Messenger. Uh, I can try to watch through
YouTube,
there.
I've got YouTube up too now, so
Okay. So anybody
if
wants to kind of message
somebody,
through there, we're fine.
yep,
So yeah, I think it's just my SMS messenger. Messenger. I can't even talk anymore. Um. So yeah, definitely we have to sort of figure out getting all the Udicci.TV stuff embedded in there. But picking up our conversation where we're just at there, I'm going to say there's a lot of people right now, and maybe even including myself, that have forgotten what it feels like to win, have forgotten maybe what it feels like to feel good, right? In some ways, maybe just numb from the battle, right? And that's
Sure.
going to happen. I mean, you're going to get out and play in ice cold weather. You're going to get numb. You're going to, I mean, literally, like, right. There's times that the battle, the only thing you can do is remain focused and just pushing ahead, um, which is healthy and important. But that does leave a bit of a gap between kind of what, you were getting at, Tim, and which I think is like, just keep persevering. At some point, we do need to sort of connect a healthy emotional value, if you will, to this want to win and this want to move forward. Does that make sense? I'm not, I'm
Yeah.
twisting. I'm trying to,
Well, anybody that knows me knows I've been through the ringer and back a few times. And there's I think when you're down in the gutter, like, the valley of the though we yea, though we walk through the shadows of the valley of death, right? And when you think about when you're in the depths of that, you do need to kind of be able to take a step back on occasion and give yourself that emotional break or that mental break. And it's important, I think, for to be able to kind of, I guess, have a way to check out and to kind of get your mind away from the stuff that's beating you up. But then I think the other side, like, I look at 2 years of my life that I went through, where when I went through that 2 years of my life, I felt like every time I turned around I was getting beat up. But inside of all of those times when I was getting beat up, there were always times when God was showing me something that he was doing. And those were they were little tiny victories inside of that great big storm. And it was those little tiny victories that I kept launching myself off of each time. It's like, okay, there's another one. God's still there. There's another one. There's God's still there. It's like the stepping stones. And man, it's the stride. You're taking these strides that feel like they're way too big for you, but at the same time, because you having to trust during a very long period of maybe not seeing a victory, or maybe a very long time of not seeing something go good for you. And I think that it's important to really kind of focus in those, in some of those areas, because if you're not focusing on the little victories that you're seeing throughout the course of the long-term challenges, then you will get down and that's where you start to lose the battle.
yeah, I mean, so the verse that comes to mind as you're going through this is Romans 5:3-5, right? It says, not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured out into our hearts through the Holy Spirit, who has been given to us. And again, just to kind of focus on this part, that suffering produces perseverance, right? That's when we do have to just kind of put our head down and go through it. But while we put our head down and go through it, we can't just allow our heart to be hardened. We can't allow all the hurts that we've allowed to live within our minds to continue to control our life. We must guard our heart. And what that really means is, I mean, not for anything, we know that the heart is deceitful above all else, because the heart wants what the heart wants, until you start to figure out that what the heart truly needs is the true love of Christ, or the true love of a restorative hope that is going to say, persevere, continue on, because through perseverance, you find your true character.
Right.
And your true character is, when you talk about finding your stride, it's sort of like you find a point where you're like, I'm really good with me. I'm okay with me. I don't think I'm anything special, but I think I'm at least equally as special as everybody else. I'm not trying to be, proclaim that I'm the greatest of all time, but I also don't think I'm the worst of all time. And I don't think I'm anything worthy of great love and respect, but God still loves me, so that makes me somehow worthy. And when I look at the fact that my character is revealed, I either can find out that my character maybe isn't worth persevering for, at which point I need to change my character, and that's what that does. And then I make a change, and all of a sudden, each time I make that change in my character, I actually find reason for greater hope. And it's because every time I make those changes, it's like, yeah, I can persevere longer. I can keep my head down longer. I can love better. I can just be okay through the storm and not think that I'm going to be crushed. But because I've learned through all of this, maybe how to love others or love myself just a little bit better, I can continue through these challenges. I can, persevere through it. And then all of a sudden there's that character piece again. And I'm going, okay, all right. I know who I am in God. I'm a stronger person. And, that doesn't mean I'm a perfect person. That doesn't mean that I still don't make mistakes. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't, all it means is that God's word is true. And that when you persevere through the actual trials, that you do begin to find that character, your true character, you're hitting your stride, as Tim called it. And as you're hitting your stride, there is a hope. And it's not a hope that's like, oh, yay, I'm going to win this race because I'm something special. It's a hope that says, I'm going to win this race because of Christ. And it's none of the hope is in me alone. Even when we struggle to hold on to Christ, right? And that's those pieces like where we get into people who, like, look, we're not trying to say he has to be, you're all Lord and Savior. I mean, it seems pretty challenging to question that, but okay, like that can be your choice. We're simply saying that his word continues to be true, and that when you focus on truth and well-being together with one another, you persevere through, you get stronger. And, those are some pretty deep conversations to kind of bring back to a football game. But that's realistically right now when you have people like the Buffalo Bills who have set themselves up to win a Super Bowl. That is about being the best of the best among the best. That is being the top players, the top team amongst the top talent. That's saying I've mastered my craft in such a way that I will from henceforth be recognized as one of the best. I've achieved that. They've fulfilled that purpose that they at least set for themselves. And I think that in all of that, like, you have to work through those real hard trials, and you have to leave it all on the field just so that if you don't make that goal this year, there's always maybe next year to build on. But if you give up before the game is over, that's probably not something you're going to build on too much. And, maybe that's what we need to be looking at, is helping one another to find those footings to build on.
It's funny. Recently, there was a comment made about how there was a trickle-down effect felt from a very minimal amount of input over the course of 4 years, and it was related to faith in a relationship.
Say that again.
A trickle-down effect of impact over the course of 4 years. I wasn't. So what it was is basically in a certain situation, I'm letting it be known where I stand in my faith. I'm letting it be known what I feel about, the relationship with God that we're supposed to have, and how to kind of how to navigate that. And I'm also sharing like certain stands about my upbringing in my faith. And over the course of 4 years, not a lot of direct conversation or direct impact has led to a trickle down effect just by me kind of being me through the course of those 4 years that has impacted somebody else's life in their faith.
Yeah, I think that just sort of speaks to the truth of Christ and the Holy Spirit, right? It's like
Right.
we can't even begin to, I mean, like, we speak the name of Christ, that in itself, that one singular thing has an impact on people. Good, bad, or
Yep.
otherwise, that
Yep.
name evokes a response. And, it's like, so as soon as you start to, uh, share your firm foundation beliefs, if you will, people are going to hear that. I
Oh yeah.
mean, and it's not always going to sit easy, and some and hopefully people receive it for good. And I think in time it will. And I think that that's ultimately what we talk about when we're saying, like, living out your faith in the marketplace is, it's not necessarily that you're out there evangelizing, although that happens because exactly what you're saying. It's truth is rather desirable. It's rejected at first very often, and
Most
deception
times.
hates it. Yeah, and deception hates it. But as soon as you get like you get a taste for it, like, you just want more of it, right? I
Yep.
mean, once you finally decide to stop rejecting truth and deciding that I want more of it, only more truth is sufficient. And it's like, though, you can have some great conversations around all of that, and those conversations that, again, going back to that artist, right? I mean, artists over the years have literally tried to paint God. They've tried to express man's relationship with God because it's an important relationship, and whatever that looks like, I think that in many ways our lives are living tapestries. And
Right.
what we are trying to do and hoping to do is to leave a story behind that has you know at least good lasting value for our families. and
Right.
and I think that that's an important piece when it comes to even building like economies, as we're talking about right now, is having going back to having your heart and mind in the right place. Is that we're not trying to build something. I can't be trying to build a kingdom for me. It's like, look at me, look how Christ uses me. Like, yeah, no, good luck. You're but a grain of sand. uh, but I can live out my faith, and I believe truly that that is the mustard seed that gets planted for the generations to come. And that is that the generations get to be nested, under that tree for under that bush for shade, and home to some other birds. It's just like that is that little mustard seed that we get to put that work in today, nurturing it, and watching it grow. And we get to see just a little of its growth in this life, but its true impact won't be known until 2 and 3 generations later. And I think that those are kind of the fun things that we are getting to do right now, is begin to, I guess, articulate, which is fun. Art, we should kind of play with that one a little bit. Articulate, um, to our families the sort of the power of well-being by kind of holding on to it today. I don't know. Now I'm just kind of rambling. You look at you looking around like you're like lost, and this happens with our, you're like, oh, he just went to Inspector
Oh
Gadget.
no, I
No,
had
this
to.
means that there's
There's
major
something going
technology
on.
issues. All right, hold on for major technology issues once we're
No,
to Inspector Gadget.
I
And
puked you, so you're gonna be hopefully good.
what's that?
I had. I'm just getting a couple of things going on your feed.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and go to a break for a moment.
Oh, oh, okay. Hold on. Hold on. Yep. Okay, we'll go ahead and we're gonna go to a break. Go back
Yeah.
over there. All right. All right. We'll be right back, right? Or you'll be right back.
All righty. Well, we had obviously a couple of our guests that we were hoping to join us tonight weren't able to make it. And what we're hoping to do is add more guests in the future. Hopefully, you've kind of got a little flavor if you've bothered to watch the last hour and a half, which I know is a lot of ask. That's a lot to ask, but it's one way to just kind of learn. And we've invested quite a bit of time into learning a fair amount. Hopefully about life, through family, through friendship, through partnership, through community. We've tried to do a whole bunch of community work, a background on that, and technology, and our hope that we can help people to better understand this kind of forthcoming tidal wave that's going to happen. This is an economic revolution in every way. We've been talking about it for many years, and it's upon us. We're going to have to get strong, and we're going to have to kind of, like we said earlier, persevere through. That also said is that we need some help with keeping our content going, because at some point in time when you have absolutely no guests coming in, then you just end up rambling a whole bunch. So what I'm thinking we're going to do, since we can't exactly just I guess we could easily update the system and change to Maverick now, or we could just talk about Maverick and decide what we want to do at that point in time.
Well, that's up to you. We're good to go either way. So let's see here. If we wanted to, we're better off just probably talking through some stuff here. So what? Okay, so let me interview you. Ha, there we go.
Yeah.
All right, we'll try something fun. So tell me, Chuck, what is it that you would like to accomplish this year with Ceox?
That's actually a really good question, and it's one of those things that um, I likely have written down. But the problem is that I have is, unless it's like the thing I'm currently working on, I don't have it in front of me often enough. So one of the things that I do want to accomplish this year is to make sure that a lot of the, like I've got this process called CEO of Me and the Know Your Role, and I'd like to make sure that those roles are, those things are readily available, because I think it's important to keep your objectives and your goals in front of you and staying focused on those, And I'm constantly doing that, like with the Udicci.TV thing. I've rewritten last week's thing, and I've got it, and I'm moving it around, trying to get into some pains here and there. So realistically, what I'm hoping to do in Ceox this year is to help others know their role in the marketplace, right? That's really what I'm looking to do, and that would just be a matter of, like I said, getting some of those tools online, and then kind of expanding from there. I mean, Ceox is, I look at it this way when it comes to the Thursday night social, like Unencrypted is Udici's, our shared thing. Ceox is mine, Maverick is yours. And that really helps us to form the brand in the middle, right? I mean,
Yep.
that's really what
Yep.
that is. And I definitely, I'm ready to kind of, I don't want to say launch the Ministry of Entrepreneurship, because it's almost more of a story at this point than anything else, but it'll be it'll be part of that Ceox thing. And I look at Ceox as being just a community where we do focus more on the encouragement, the fun stuff, right? And it just kind of, uh, yeah, the tech is there, but I'm not trying to get really deep into it. It's definitely, oh, hey, kitty, you got kitty visiting. The kitty's visiting.
She's reaching for the moon. I wonder if
So yeah, for me right now, I would really just like to, like I said, I look at it as establishing my own personal brand, and whatever that includes. Obviously, that's going to be sales and marketing of blockchain solutions, right? And I know we have a goal as Udicci to be a top 10 transaction producer. So, I'd really like to be helping other people build with us if that makes sense for them.
Yep. So when you say that you want to have the processes in the platform, talk about talk about the processes a little bit, and maybe talk about one of the most recent. There's a recent use case you sort of have for the process. So talk about that a little bit, and what that means.
So I'll use like know your role, and what these are just sort of a question and answer format to attempt to pull out of people what's already in them and help them to articulate it in a way that they just might not otherwise say, right? I mean, um, oftentimes I get a little bit annoyed at this world we're living in, because it's become so almost robotic. I think about, like, when we're looking for jobs, every job description effectively reads the same, like, hey, we're dynamic, come do, like, it's almost gotten old. And I really want people to be able to speak in their own voice and have their own voice heard. And I want to kind of help pull that out of them. So as an example of, like, what if this process would look like for knowing your role, there's a description. What are roles? And roles help define and provide organizational support structure. Organizations which seek continuous improvement often use roles to align skills and talents with jobs and responsibilities. So it sort of starts out with that kind of thing, where it's a teaching guide, an educational guide to what a role is. Then it gets into, like, defining roles and what a skill is and what jobs are and what talent is. And then we get into a step where we're working with somebody and we're like, okay, identify a personal skill. And just that, knowing that this is simply a starting point, and that any answer is good, just to kind of ask, like, what do you think you do well? Right? Answer that question. Try to get 5, 6, 7 answers out of that. And then, like, what does it mean to you that you do these well? That kind of a piece of it. And then what is required for you to do this well? So we're really just trying to take a deep dive into who that person is, and realistically what try to find what they enjoy most about their work, and understanding that the goal is to keep working toward that thing where you could probably create the greatest value for the marketplace by doing that which you most enjoy doing. And that means that you're going to have to bring others around you, that when you're building your own roles, what you're also doing is starting to identify the support that you need around you to help grow your organization. So that's an example of a process that we would say that we would build into it. There's obviously, a fair bit more inside of there, but then there's a few other processes like that would be relevant to organizational growth that we would be developing. And hopefully that would be like on the professional services side of that. And
Right.
I would think the Ceox, Thursday night thing is, again, it's just to have these conversations about well-being and, some fun, just to, hopefully open up hearts and minds. The deep dive into, what the people really want to develop, that's not necessarily for this show.
No, 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 no. Yeah, so when you're talking about know your role, explain why that would be important inside an organization.
Well, if I come back here and sort of reading it as a, let's see if this actually, I'll just read it. So, what are roles? Roles help define and provide organizational support structure. Organizations which seek continuous improvement often use roles to align skills and talents with jobs and responsibilities. People assigned to roles are responsible for delivering measurable results through jobs which they oversee and steward. Mutual agreement of understanding and capacity should occur prior to agreeing to take on the responsibilities of a role. Where capacity is a heart and mind understanding of current resources and well-being. I obviously missed a word in there, something. Um, Defining roles. All of us perform multiple roles in life, those of child, parent, spouse, pastor, mayor, or president. Each of these roles benefit from a certain skill set and talent. For instance, it would surely be a benefit if leaders were skilled in compassion. Roles have a responsibility to accomplish specific jobs skillfully. Roles flourish with talent. So I don't know that that answers specifically. They're saying, why does an organization benefit from roles? And I think what the roles really do is just to help, kind of provide individuals with a scope of work that hopefully aligns with their greatest talent and can create the most enthusiasm and greatest value for the organization if everybody sort of does their role well.
So when you say, okay, so we've worked in organizations that had tens of thousands of people, and there's obvious why that type of thing is important inside of an organization of that size. You need to know kind of what roles you need to fill and different how many people in each role. But when you start to get to smaller organizations like community organizations and churches and things like that, is the value of that like the know your role process the same, or is it equivalent, or does it provide more value in a smaller organization or less value?
Yeah, I think it only provides the value that somebody wants it to provide. And I think that when you have somebody running a small business, if they don't understand the value of a role and went through this process, I think if they came out the other side and didn't recognize the value of a role still, they'll probably struggle to grow that business to any great degree. It might, be a nice, reasonably healthy small business that just is completely reliant on operations, which is important. And you'll probably get some referral work as long as you do quality work, that kind of stuff. But if you understand, truly what it means to have a role, then you can begin to create something just bigger than yourself. It really begins to speak to the importance of a brand and building a team in the marketplace. And this world that we're coming into, this blockchain world that is going to really be very different. We started seeing some of this, um, with Uber, the DoorDash, where you've got the independent contractors, you got people working independently. That's fine, and but that's like here's a task, do it, versus a role is self-defined. Now be it,
Right.
and we're gonna have a lot more independent contributors in future economies than maybe we do right now. We currently do see a lot of independent contributors, like I say, through an Uber or these 1099
Sure.
contractors. But I think we're going to see a lot more kind of specialization for cultural fit, and you're going to have this dynamic people working for multiple organizations sometimes in slightly different roles, but really understanding the talent that you can bring to an organization is going to come through an exploration of who you truly are and what you're truly trying to bring to the marketplace. And I think that that's certainly part of knowing your role.
Sure. And when we start to talk cross into the platform a little bit, when you start to identify, there's certain roles that might come with a value that is given back, like when we start talking about utility in an NFT and utilities and role, and you start to think kind of outside of that and go into more of those areas where we're talking about the dynamic aspect of contracts with roles and work. How does that play a role in know your role?
Now that becomes so much more fun, right? Because this is a whole different side of it. In one side where I look at this and say this is really entrepreneurship in ways that it's always been, but we need to be more intentional about it. When I say about knowing your role, then there's the flip side where we can literally start making fictitious roles that actually do participate in some manner of the economy and either add to it as fun or maybe it's some form of advertising, right? So we could have a fictitious character who's a role in your business that is actually like telling some stories, like the content producer or spokesperson for your company. Maybe it's a dog, maybe it's a lizard, right? I mean, that all of us would be able to have these kind of fictitious roles that could be given commands and qualities, if you will, that ultimately in time could be more interactive toward what's going on in like social media, right? It could begin to learn if people are saying, this thing or that thing, to kind of respond in a manner that's properly, proper for that role. That gets into a little bit more of like those like AI bots and whatnot,
Yeah.
but it's a little bit more fun, right? It's a little bit more fun way of looking at how marketing might be done, right? So we've got roles at this point that are literally roles in fictitious stories and content creators creating these NFTs that are characters now and representatives of particular brands, whether you've got these apes that are really popular and now I've got to go to the Sandbox gallery to see the apes as I might otherwise have to go to the Louvre to see, I don't know, the Mona Lisa. I don't know where she's at these days, but it's like in some ways I had to go to the Louvre to see certain art. Then in another way, I'm going to have to go over to the Sandbox, or maybe I'll have to go through Snoop Dogg's Party Central to see a particular ape that I really like, or if I want to.
Or maybe somebody, so one thing that comes to mind for me is like hats. You're putting your hats on for the day, or a t-shirt. So we could actually pay somebody to walk around Sandbox with a t-shirt on. Like 1 Satoshi for every 20 steps or something. And
exactly. And and this is where like truly we get into all the way back to that artistic thing, right? Because
yes,
the sky's the limit in what it really means right now to marketing and the way a business is going to run. And none of this is necessarily brand new. I mean, we've had like I said, a lizard telling us that we could save 15% or more by whatever 15 minutes. Like we've had a lizard forever telling us that
we've
story.
had cavemen sell us insurance.
Right. We've had these stories going on. It's just that now it's going to be so much more, right?
Because it's everybody's a creative input at this point.
Exactly. Right. So now, like, if my role in the marketplace is one of director for Udicci, and I design an NFT of our character Ulysses, that whenever I post out on Twitter, have a nice day, then Ulysses dances, whatever, I don't know, some dumb thing, right? But if you happen to be watching Ulysses when he dances, congratulations, because he kicks around some coins, right? And you get to keep those coins and redeem them inside of Udicci's platform for products or services, and we'll send you a lemonade, we'll send you a t-shirt, right? I mean, that's it. It changes everything. And the way, and I think one of the important pieces is to sort of understand who we are before we start thinking of everything else that could be. Exactly. And I think that's really what that example, that process does. And all of that gets written under. I mean, all of that gets written under really, which is CEO of me, right? So I've got this other, all of this is sort of encompassed under a grand process called CEO of me. And that's what Ceox really is for anybody who's watching, is that X at the end is really your name to be there. That's going to be your name. Like you're signing off as your own CEO. You're putting your own plans in place. You're putting your vision in place. You're putting your role in place. And you're having that all able to be kind of managed. And then we can work together to help, grow, either just through something as simple as like accountability toward healthy habits and growth habits, or literally creating the platform to run your business. Like it could be any of that and anywhere in between. But the basics of what I would say for Ceox this year is to really get some people working with CEO of me, and to the degree that it's going to be helping to launch a healthy environment for Udicci. That's ultimately that side of it. Which actually is kind of a great cutover to Maverick, because I want to talk about like the accountability, because I know that's a big piece for you. So let's go ahead and take a break.
All right.
And
we'll be back in about 5 minutes or so. If you're watching on Udicci.TV, switch over to the other show on Maverick.io, and we'll see you again in a minute.